Welcome to our third monthly meeting of Those Were the Days. I'm Nancy Martin, the library archivist. The theme of today's meeting is Donaldson's Crossroads. Donaldson's Crossroads is so named because it's located at the intersection where the Donaldson farm once stood. Here we have a photograph of the Donaldson homestead from 1900. Pictured from left to right are Catherine Donaldson, Robert N. Donaldson, and Walter E. Donaldson, who's very hard to see but is here holding a shovel. Here we have a slightly later photo of the house taken from a different angle. Here we're on Route 19 looking north towards Pittsburgh. You can't see the rear addition on the farmhouse in the earlier photo, but you can see it here. It might be the case, however, that it was merely hidden because of the angle at which the previous photo was taken. I wanted to return to something for a minute that came up at last month's meeting of Those Were the Days. I showed everyone the framed photograph that you see here on the right and said it was a photograph of the Donaldson homestead that hung on the wall of the Donaldson living room. And several of you didn't think it was the Donaldson farm. If you compare the house in the left with the house on the right, it's clear that they are of the same house, the Donaldson house. This photograph shows the Hollywood Barbecue Restaurant at its original location, the southwest corner of Donaldson's Crossroads, where the CVS is now located. The restaurant later relocated to the northeast corner of Donaldson's Crossroads beside the Esso station after the fire at Chef's Restaurant. Here we see the northeast corner in 1951. You can see the Esso station with Chef's Restaurant beside it. This is the southeast corner of Donaldson's Crossroads. You can see Pleasant Valley Service Station. The red house to the left is Twin Pines Realty, and to the right is Vitty's Hardware. Note the farmland in the background and the single traffic light. The description that accompanies this photo on the library's Local History Photos webpage reads, 1951 view of the field later to become Donaldson's Crossroads Shopping Center. The house on the far left was Penn China, and later the location of Bridgeville National Bank, later Union National Bank. So here we are looking west across Route 19 from the site of Donaldson's Crossroads. Here's an article from the March 18th, 1959 Washington Observer. It reads, first steps in the development of a Donaldson's Crossroads shopping center were made last week with the purchase of 14 acres of ground from J. Elmer Johnston by Donaldson Crossroads, Inc. The land extends from Vitty's hardware store near the crossroads, south to the Johnston home, a distance of about 700 feet. Donaldson's Crossroads Inc. spokesman Carlo Teodori said today that the site is presently under study by architects and that final approval would have to be given by Peters Township before any positive move could be made. Thus, no date for groundbreaking or construction has been set. The plan for a 25-unit shopping center has been contemplated for the past 2 years, but has run into several snags. Negotiations for coal supports under the property are still underway. Here we have a newspaper clipping found on a page in a Peters Township Society of Farm Women scrapbook with an architect's drawing of the proposed Donaldson's Crossroads shopping center. The caption reads, this shopping center, to be constructed at Donaldson's Crossroads on the property purchased from Elmer Johnston, will be of modern construction with a 2,400 car parking area and some 40 stores, including 2 supermarkets, a bank, and department store. The builder plans to begin construction immediately upon receiving formal approval from the Peters Township Zoning Commission and the Board of Township Supervisors. It's clear this didn't end up being the final design of the shopping center. The angled portion on the left was never built. Here's a photo taken prior to the shopping center's opening. Here you can see signs for Kroger, Isley's, Sun Drugs, Grants, and a blank sign in the background, which is where I believe Giant Eagle was located. Note again the farmland in the background. Here's an advertisement from the Washington Observer on January 30th, 1964 for Grant's department store. And here's an ad for Miller's American Hardware that appeared in the Washington Observer on April 22nd, 1965. This advertisement from Canonsburg's Daily Notes newspaper on August 13th, 1965 is for Donaldson's Crossroads Shopping Center's Red Carpet Days. I included this ad in the presentation because it lists all the businesses that were housed in the shopping center in 1965. I'm sure many of you remember them. Here's a 1967 photo of the shopping center in which we can see Giant Eagle, Mellon Bank, Grants, and Kroger. A great resource that documents many of the township businesses is the Peters Township Business Guide and Community Directory that the Peters Township Chamber of Commerce published every year beginning in 1961. I can't guarantee that each guide is comprehensive and includes every single business in the township, and that's because a business had to be willing to pay a small fee to be listed in the business guide. In the early 1960s, Donaldson Square was built on the site of the former Esso station, the northeast corner of Donaldson's Crossroads, to accommodate the Union National Bank of Pittsburgh and Moreland's Pharmacy. This view shows Donaldson Square in 1967. Hahn's Garden Center had Santa and his reindeer out front of the Loblaws store on the southwest corner where the Hollywood barbecue originally sat. This undated photo of the Donaldson's Crossroads signage includes the Crest Theater sign in the background. The theater opened on May 27th, 1964, and closed on May 21st, 1989. This is a photo of the Crest Theater taken by Ralph Kessler in 1984. According to the marquee, The Big Chill was playing, and all seats cost $1.75. Here again, we see the southwest corner of Donaldson's Crossroads where CVS now sits. This photo was taken in 1981, and you can see Toy and Gift Mart on the left, a liquor store in the center, and South Pittsburgh Savings Bank on the right, all in the former Loblaws building. On the northwest corner of Donaldson's Crossroads, between the Donaldson House and West McMurray Road, sat Hahn's Nursery. During World War II, Lewis Hahn and Sons raised produce for the Pittsburgh area. By 1957, the company was focused on plants and shrubs. On the back of the photo is written Hahn's Nursery before moving and being rebuilt. Here again is Hahn's Nursery at the northwest corner, this time in the early 1980s. Here's a picture of the Donaldson House taken by Ed Liebarger in 1993. Here we have two photos of the Donaldson homestead taken nearly 100 years apart. The house was demolished in 2010 to make room for a retail complex. A PNC bank sits on the corner now. I find it striking that pictures of the house taken 100 years apart, the house hasn't really changed all that much. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for coming. I hope to see you again at Those Were the Days at 11 a.m. on Thursday, April 10th, when we will be discussing the Peters Township Police Department.